All right, Gasper, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. So Bill's not too keen on the state of the New England Patriots. You feel better about him. Why?
Well, I mean, better than Bill. I mean, that's such a low threshold, really, to apply. I would say, look, nobody feels great about this season, but the overall future of the team, when I look at what they needed to accomplish this season, what was number one on my to-do list in terms of making the biggest difference for the future of the Patriots and them getting back to real relevance in the NFL and someday competing for championships, it was identifying a quarterback that they can build around, a quarterback that can be a franchise guy, a quarterback who has potentially the capability to elevate the players around him. I think they've done that. I think Drake Maye is that guy. And so to me, crossing that off the list, as painful as this season has been, you can look at that and say, yes, they did accomplish something. It's not a completely lost season. And as you and I have talked about, argued about from the beginning of the year, that means more to me than having, say, Jacoby Brissett be the quarterback most of the year and scratching out 6, 7, 8 wins and getting this time of year and saying, oh, you're in the hunt, but you're still not sure who your quarterback is. In an ideal world, you do both. You identify the quarterback, you're in the hunt, you're winning 6, 7, 8, 9 games. That ideally you do both. And that would mean that you are further along in trying to get back to relevancy than they are now. I fully acknowledge that. I'm not saying wins don't hold value. They absolutely do. But at the end of the day, I would much rather be the Patriots than, say, the Indianapolis Colts. Even at 3-10, I'd rather be the Patriots with Drake Maye than the 6-win Colts with Anthony Richardson and still uncertain about who your quarterback is.
Okay, let me give you then, because I agree. And I can't believe we're going back and talking about the Colts. But would you rather be the Patriots or the Rams?
Patriots I'd rather be the Patriots.
Because you think obviously the long-term promise of Drake Maye is more valuable than the institutional strength of Snead, the GM, and obviously McVay, the coach.
Yeah, and I love those guys. Yeah, honestly, strictly it's because Stafford's towards the end of his career, and they're going to have to start this process, and the Patriots have already started it. Look, the Rams have the youngest roster in the league. It's just that their quarterback is older. The average age of their players is very young, which is encouraging for them. But the quarterback, they almost sort of flirted with trading him last year. We'll see if they trade him this offseason. And how much longer does he really have left?
So I'm the Rams on that one because I think that they have everything around that position, and they should be able to figure it out. Like they did the first time.
Brian Hoyer type, right?
No, like a Matthew Stafford type.
Okay. Just checking.
Does anyone else want to weigh in?
Well, so look, Chris, just to be clear on this part of it, you're not saying the quarterback alone.
No, it's a process, and they have a long way to go. But I think it's the most important piece. You know, I put in the show email. I talked to someone who's a GM in the NFL and about the situation here, and the response was that that's the hardest piece to get. And this is a different person from the person who was quoted in the story I wrote, Felger. This is a different person. They said that's the hardest piece to get. In my entire career, I felt like I was just a quarterback away from being good. So these are the professionals telling you that is the hardest piece. It's the piece that moves the needle the most. Like I like the Bills operation. I'm a fan of Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. But do I think they're like geniuses? Do I think the Pagulas became better owners in Buffalo, or did they just get Josh Allen? And Brian Daboll came in and figured it out, like a Rubik's Cube and handed it to them. Because I tend to think it's more that than the other thing. Then it's like, the infrastructure matters. Don't get me wrong. The coaching matters. All that stuff matters. But what I tend to see is more, I'll say the same thing with the Glazers in Tampa. They're not terrible owners. They're okay. But you gave them Tom Brady. How good were they? Suddenly, they won a Super Bowl and they're winning division titles and stuff like that. So I just think the quarterback's the most important piece.
So why is it important for you to keep reiterating that?
Because I think look, I understand during the middle of a season, it's frustrating and this team is underwhelmed and disappointed. And I think it's absolutely legitimate to criticize the coaching staff and evaluate every week sort of your frustrations on a micro level. But on a macro level, I think it's very significant that they figured out the quarterback piece, because whether it's this regime, Mayo and Wolf, or it's somebody else that has to come in here, once you do that, you have a real chance. Like, just look at the AFC East, right? Look at the AFC. There were a couple of outlier years, like 2008, when Brady was hurt. But for the most part, the AFC East has been since 2001, and I know the Patriots didn't win it in 2002, so that was another outlier year. But it's been, who has the best quarterback? It's Brady, they win it. It's Josh Allen, they win it. The Bills have now won 5 straight AFC East titles. So I think figuring out that part is more significant to me than knowing you don't have a very good team and whether you scratch out 3 wins or 6 wins.
I tell you, Chris, you have too much knowledge in your head then. You know the sport as well as anyone that I talk to on a day. Like, this week's opponent, you'll tell me about their 2 corners and their nickel corner and where the safety went to college. And when we get to the draft, you'll tell me about the 3rd tight end on the board and the edge play. I mean, your knowledge is amazing. Why do you bother?
Setup.
No, but I mean, seriously, it is kind of a setup. Why do you bother with it? I mean, if it's just about landing the quarterback, why do we waste time talking about the nickel corner from Oregon State?
Yeah, because I love that stuff, and that's the stuff that's it's the extra 2% that puts you over the top. But when you're talking about, it's like someone who likes, home design. Why do you talk about these curtains versus, these shades? Why do you talk about a heated floor versus a heated towel rack? But you still have to have the foundation for the house, right? And to me, that's the quarterback. That's the part that makes the rest of it sort of easy to do. Someone used this analogy with me, who's done the job of putting a team together before. And basically they're saying, like, once you have the quarterback, that's like a support beam for what you're building. If you build everything else first and then try and put the quarterback like kind of on top, like they have these topping ceremonies when you get to the top of a structure and this is going to be the highest beam or whatever. They said that's a lot harder. It can fit, it can work, but it's a lot harder to do it and be successful that way over a period of time than the other way where you sort of start with that support beam and you're able to build around it. Look, I would love to see the Patriots win. I'm not telling you winning doesn't matter. It does. I just think in terms of getting back to real contention and what the situation is, again, and I bring up the Colts because I feel like they're a pretty good example of what you were sort of talking about before the year started.
They're not.
Felger, why are they not? Because they're a team that's in the hunt, in the mix, kind of maximizing what they have. Like, why are they not a good example of what you were talking about?
The Steelers are a good example of what I'm talking about, or the Packers are a good example.
They're not the Steelers.
Why?
Okay, but because the Steelers have a coach who's the longest active coach in the NFL.
Yeah, he's just a towel rack.
He's
just a towel rack, Chris. He's just the toilet paper dispenser or the heated floor in the kitchen, bathroom. Well, whatever your analogy was. He doesn't matter.
And also their team is loaded. They have a team with a ton of talent, right?
But they don't have a quarterback.
Well, they do this year, Russell Wilson.
So you must. So it's the Indianapolis Colts to me have shown no track record of good decision making or team building or anything like this. And we can go back. I mean, the Manning teams were really, really good, but they just sort of sucked and lost and drafted, and those guys came to the team, and that's what they had. And they overreached on this quarterback here, obviously.
They did.
Absolutely. And they lost purposely to get their previous quarterback. I don't have any respect for those teams. I don't need to be those teams.
But I thought, and maybe I misunderstood you, I thought you were saying from a culture standpoint and moving it forward, not the judgment of the general manager, but just that winning moves you forward culture-wise and gets you closer.
It does.
Okay.
But the Colts are still stuck, but that doesn't mean I'd rather be them than you. I think the Colts are better off right now being 6-7 versus 1-12. Put it to you like that.
But why haven't they been able to get over the hump? How come all these 9-8 seasons, 6-7? How come being in the hunt all the time and playing these meaningful games hasn't changed their culture, moved them forward? It's supposed to have this great benefit.
How come sucking every year hasn't put the Jaguars in the Super Bowl? I mean, for every example of a middling team that doesn't get there, I'll give you 2 or 3 that always suck and never get any better. It's hard. There's no distinct path. I just don't like the one that so the Rams should start losing.
No, but I've never said, again, you keep turning it into a binary. Like, in an ideal world, you do what Washington's doing. You have the young guy and you win. I'm just saying, if the choice is between just, scratching out wins with a team that's not talented and doesn't have a long-term answer at quarterback versus going through some growing pains as an organization.
So you're saying the Rams should start
identifying
losing?
The guy.
They're the exact example of what you're just talking about. So the Rams they're dumb to win these games.
No, I've never said they're dumb to win these games. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're dumb to win these games.
You just said if given the option of scratching
Matthew
out
Stafford
wins
is not like a bum quarterback. He just doesn't have a long runway left. They have to come up with the success. You saying that is as dumb as me saying in 2018, the Patriots should start losing these games because Brady doesn't have a lot of runway left. They should just start losing. If you still have a guy that you can win with, go ahead. But if you're just, a team that's not talented with no long-term answer at quarterback, like the Colts, all these 9-8 seasons should be moving them forward because they're playing all these tough
so they
games
should start
from
losing.
A culture standpoint.
So they should start. That was a bad win. That was a bad win last week.
As much as you think would be my point. Having a better quarterback would help them more in the long run. Absolutely. Yeah.
Of course. It would.
I wouldn't say start losing games, like tanking games, but figuring out their quarterback thing is more meaningful than scratching out 6, 7, 8 wins.
Of course it is.
It's overrated.
No kidding it is. Of course. Who would disagree with that? Now, so then you're saying, but just logically, Chris, what they should do is start losing. Well, no, but that's what you're saying.
Why are you saying that? Why am I saying they should start losing?
Well, what's the best way to get a quarterback?
Look, you could do it a number of ways. You got to get it in the draft. Did Kansas City start losing, or do they have Alex Smith as a placeholder and then get Patrick Mahomes?
Okay,
right.
So but a higher draft pick helps your odds. Yes.
Normally it does, right? With the quarterback, I think there's a difference between me saying a team that is in a position with a young franchise quarterback is better than just being. I mean, we have this same argument all the time, and you agree with it in the NBA. In the NBA, you'll say the middle's the worst place to be. You don't want to be stuck in the middle. Now in the NFL, suddenly it's like stuck in the middle is like the greatest
different
thing ever.
Sport. Would you stop?
Greatest
Different
thing
sport.
Since sliced bread.
Different sport. I just don't know why you keep everyone acknowledges the quarterback's the most important thing. Who doesn't? Who wouldn't say that? Obviously.
Well, I thought being in the hunt was the most important thing.
Having a quarterback's the most important thing, Chris. But why do you keep hammering this?
Good.
But there is a reason you keep doing this.
Oh, he's take invested.
Well, no, it's not just that, but he's who would say of course the quarterback's the most important. Who would want to be the Colts over the Patriots with Anthony Richardson versus Drake Maye?
You know what?
Silly.
If someone at NBC Sports Boston wants to pull the tape from the beginning of the year, you were team they have to go out here and win these games. So
you think the Patriots are better off at 3-10
with Drake Maye playing than if they had 6 wins with Jacoby Brissett? 100%. Yes.
No. Okay, yes. I mean, I think we would all agree with that. They're better with Drake Maye than without him.
We all agree. Okay, good.
But no, it's good that they have the player.
Then we're all set. Okay.
Looks like the two hosts are arguing the same point. They're very loud and very, very angry.
I honestly don't get it. I kind of do. I think you're trying to cover up for the coaches down there and trying to say, everyone, just relax. They have the quarterback. That I think is your ultimate sort of thing. It's veiled. It's underneath there. Just talk about the quarterback. Don't talk about everything else down there that's wrong because you have the quarterback, and that's the only thing that matters. If we just talk about the quarterback, it's also a very short program, okay? He's good. They got him. Okay, now what?
Short program? Isn't this the same program that you spend 3 months in a row talking about Garoppolo or Brady? That was all you guys talked about.
Oh, wait a minute. It was way longer than that.
Okay.
It was 2 quarterbacks, not 1.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So, Chris, but along those lines, this is what I was going to ask you, but you guys were going at it. Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt. It was very entertaining.
Okay.
So let's use the Chargers as an example.
Sure.
How come they didn't win before Harbaugh got there? They had the quarterback.
Well, he's good. I would say he's not sort of transcendent, but he is good. I would say that also they didn't win in part because the head coach, who was supposed to be a defensive expert, didn't really hold up his end of the bargain on defense. And if you want to apply that to Mayo, that's fine. But I would flip it around and say, well, why was that job so desirable for Jim Harbaugh to leave Michigan, where he just won a national title, and go to that team? It's because he knew he had the quarterback in place. Again, I'm not telling you guys this regime is going to be the regime that benefits from Drake Maye. I don't know. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if Mayo's a good coach. I don't know if Elliott Wolf's a good GM. I just know that for the organization overall, having Drake Maye in place is the single most important thing that could have happened for them this year, and is better than being 9-8 with Jacoby Brissett.
Agreed.
Yeah, but it should not.
Awesome.
And look, again, I think you guys are saying the same thing. It shouldn't get to the point though where now.
I don't think Chris wants to talk about the job Mayo's doing. So
I do.
So
Go ahead,
he
talk
pushes
about it.
it on the quarterback.
I mean, don't you have to take a break? You're Mr. on the clock. We're late.
We do.
Let's come back and talk about the job Mayo's doing.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.